What's up, everyone? It's Canaan, and welcome back to a new episode of RWBY Alternate Realities. This is What If Yang Was a Saiyan, Part 4. Now, last episode, we went over a bit more of Yang's training and her meeting her martial arts master, Jia. And we ended with Yang pretty much finishing her training under Jia, but then sensing something was wrong and arriving during the fall of Beacon. So, yeah, gonna get really serious in this one. I tried doing a poll earlier to ask the opinion of people if Yang would still lose her arm or not, and though a lot of people were saying yes, at the end of the day, I decided just to go with my own judgment and I just do not think Adam would ever have the strength to cut a Saiyan's arm off. Now, of course, it would happen in Dragon Ball because there are villains and characters who are either as strong or stronger than Saiyans that could definitely hurt Saiyans, like future Gohan lost his arm after an attack from Android 17 and 18, who were way stronger than a regular Super Saiyan. So, yes. And of course, Trunks chopped Frieza up into many bits with his sword, but then again, once it would take someone on Yang's scale to really hurt her like that, but I'm still going to have Yang get injured. You'll have to see how it'll go. But it's been a very, very busy day. Me and Jess went out and got our marriage license. So, hey, we're pretty much all set for October 1st when we get married. So, very exciting times. We will be going on our honeymoon the very day that happens. So, we will try and get some stuff pre-recorded to go up during that time. But yeah, exciting times. And of course, October is not almost here, but it's fast approaching. We are at the beginning of September. So remember, the entire month of October will be spooky themed videos. Me and Jess will probably do a new episode of Mysterious Darkness, and I'll try and find a creepy game to play for the entire month, or I might go to do what I did the first year I did this, which was a different scary game throughout the month. But we'll see. We'll see what comes out. I don't remember if any huge horror games are coming out during the month of October. I don't know if any of the remakes or re-releases are coming out around that time. I've not been keeping up with it, sadly. But if there is, I might just play that during the month of October. Okay, so let's get to the story at hand. So, as I said last time, Yang felt like something was wrong. Not exactly a key sense, but she just had a sense of dread, and it just told her to go check up on Ruby. So, of course, she flies off, leaving Jia behind, because Jia is like, wait, don't go, because you just don't know what you're getting into. And plus, Yang was technically in the middle of graduating from training under Jia, then she just takes off. So, of course, she stops and sees that Beacon is pretty much under attack by Grimm, by the White Fang, and even though Yang is not very keen on the world, we know that the Atlas mechs are also attacking because they are being controlled. So even though Yang has no idea what exactly caused this, she automatically goes into a panic because she knows Ruby is down there, her baby sister. And so, not really thinking much at all, Yang quickly powers up and flies down and just starts mowing down Grimm, Atlas mechs, and White Fang members. Pretty much think of it how they do things in Dragon Ball or the Marvel films. She is just zipping around the city of Vale, just taking out everything that she can because she is looking for her sister. She does not care that people are seeing her flying around at will. Not really, she doesn't have wings or anything like that. So at first, people would be guessing that maybe that's her semblance. She can ride, she can fly with like the air current or whatever, but she's doing things that no one usually is able to do. And of course, she's throwing blasts like no one else's business. And once she clears out an area, she zips on to the other because she is desperately trying to find RWBY. Because remember, the people of Remnant don't have ki normally, so she can't just sense out RWBY. Though she can sense life energy as well because she learned that during her years of training. But there's so many people she can't point out RWBY's location. But eventually, as she gets deeper into and closer to the school, she eventually finds where the students themselves have taken up arms and are fighting off the Grimm, the White Fang members, and the Atlas mechs. So she lands, and just who happens to be there? Weiss. Because Weiss is, of course, helping out as well, and she's taking a break right now because they've been fighting now for a good couple of hours. And Yang, of course, asks where RWBY is, and Weiss this time does not have a clue because it's been several hours since she saw RWBY. So Yang goes off to look more, and then finally she spots RWBY, but she stops at what she sees. RWBY is not in danger. RWBY is leading the other students into battle. She has gotten all these students behind her and is leading them into battle. She is being a leader. And Yang is just like blown away by this. But she's also proud. This is an older sister who has pretty much helped raise her younger sister, and seeing this, Yang is just floating in the air, taking it all in pretty much. Kind of like how Yang did in the original series when in the Emerald Forest, RWBY started taking up, already showing a leadership quality, and she just stood there, proud, a proud big sister of her little sister. And that's what Yang is doing now. She's just floating in the middle of the sky, watching her little sister lead people who believe enough in RWBY to follow her into what many would consider a suicide run in a lot of ways, because there's so much Grimm, there's so many Atlas mechs, there's so many White Fang members that normally people would say you're still just students. So what do you hope to achieve by going after these three groups of attackers? And what do you hope to achieve? But Yang sees that they're holding their own. They're actually doing a good job of keeping them back. Yang's moment of being proud is quickly interrupted because she's almost swallowed by a flying Grimm that she quickly dispatches. So for right now, she decides, okay, RWBY is safe. She's doing all right. I know where she is. I know where her location is. I need to help out some more. So Yang leaves RWBY for now because RWBY just doesn't need her right now. And so she goes around helping out, taking out more Grimm, taking out more White Fang members, taking out more Atlas mechs that are causing a lot of damage at this moment. And that's also where she spots that her Uncle Crow is there. Also, everyone else, the teachers, the staff, even Ironwood, who of course would be there because the Vital tournament was going on, are all battling these attackers to try and save Beacon. And so here's where we come to the part of the story where I had the most trouble deciding what to do. So, and please remember, this is not a rewrite. This is not me trying to say my version is better, because it's definitely not. But this is an alternate timeline. Things are going to happen in this version that never happened in the original version, and this should not be compared to the original version. This is just how I think things would go if Yang was a Saiyan or part Saiyan in this timeline. So Yang decides to finally land because she's used a good bit of energy at this point, so she needs to stay on the ground for a little bit. And this is where, in this timeline, Yang runs into, well, I was trying to think about where to put her in this because in the original version, she's, she of course fights RWBY up in the air, but in this version, Neo is down on the ground right now because she is helping the White Fang members. And so this is where Yang and Neo's first fight officially takes place. Now, at first, Yang is taken aback a little bit because at first she's like, oh, this girl's cute. But yeah, that quickly goes away when Neo tries to stab her. And unlike the original version, where if you watch Yang and Neo's fight, Yang was really overmatched because Neo was faster than her. If you watch that fight, Yang is almost moving in slow motion, it seems like, when it comes to Neo's speed. But this version of Yang is very, very much faster than Yang in the original version. And she kind of makes quick work of Neo, because when Neo tries to stab her again, Yang catches it and automatically snaps it in half like a toothpick. And Neo is really freaked out by that because that shouldn't happen. Yang gives her one good punch to the gut and sends Neo flying. But of course, Neo uses her semblance to get away. So Yang continues into Beacon and she hears a familiar voice. She follows it, and of course, she sees, for the first time in years, Blake, and she is staring down Adam once again. So Yang remembers that Blake warned her, stay out of it if this ever happens again. So at first, Yang wants to respect that, so she just watches for right now. Now remember, this version of Blake did not exactly run away. She did leave the White Fang, but she's been fighting Adam for a long time now to try and take him out and to make the White Fang what it was meant to be. So this version of Blake is not scared. She is fighting him with all of her might, but just like in the original version, Adam is still, I don't want to say way stronger, but he is a little bit on another level than Blake right now. And so during the fight, he does eventually take over while fighting Blake and does knock her down. And even though this version of Blake is stronger, she still gets stabbed because they've been fighting for a good while now. And sadly, Blake is getting tired. Her aura is getting very, very low. And so Adam takes advantage of that, knocks her down. And unlike in the original, where it was very methodical where he stabbed her, it's a quick one because he knows if he's not quick, she's going to get away. So he still stabs her and she screams out. And that's when Yang makes herself known. Pretty much says the same thing she does in RWBY to get away from her. He turns around. He's like, this girl again? What the heck? Now, even though Adam has not been doing a whole lot of fighting this whole time, he's kind of been giving orders and just taking out that very loose Grim that just decides to go after people randomly, because let's face it, Adam is full of negativity. He's not been doing much, so he's not spent a lot of his aura. And sadly, Blake probably did fill up his semblance a bit because he was blocking all of her attacks with his sword. So yes, Yang screams, get away from her, and he turns and sees her, and once again, at first he's annoyed. He's like, this girl again? Where did she even come from? So of course he warns her, says you better back off or you'll be in the same boat. And Yang's like, trust me, that little weapon's not going to do anything to me. And he's like, how can you be so sure? He's like, well, I'm going to show you something I learned recently. So Yang starts powering up, which is something that the people of Remnant are not used to seeing already. When she starts powering up, the rubble around her lifts up, the place is shaking, so it already puts Adam unease, like, what the heck is this? A red aura erupts around Yang. Her dark hair kind of takes on a red hinge. Yes, this is pretty much Yang's version of the Kaioken. Now, if you ever played Dragon Ball Z Budokai on the PlayStation 2 when it first came out, Goku had the Kaioken in that as a transformation, even though it's more of a fighting technique. It's not really a transformation. but it came up as King Kai Fist, where a lot of people say that's a loose translation of what it means in Japanese. King Kai, Kaio, and Kin is more or less Japanese for fist. Well, in this version, it's called the Gia Fist, or Geokin, if you want to call it that, because it is a technique that Gia has taught Yang. Now, of course, in this version, it's probably not as potent as the Kaioken, because remember, Goku only learned that technique because he trained under King Kai, who is literally a deity in Dragon Ball lore. Plus, Goku learned it in the afterlife, so it's going to be an attack that is kind of out of this world at that time. Because remember, the Kaioken was very, very one of its kind when Goku first used it. Sadly, of course, it was outclassed eventually by the Frieza arc, but then again, Goku learned to go Super Saiyan, and he really just didn't need to use it for the longest time. Now, this version, it still kind of has the same effects, which is why for the longest time, Gia taught it to no one except Yang, because, of course, Yang being a Saiyan, she has that resilience that she can stand the technique. And it still pretty much has the same properties as in Dragon Ball. It can wear and tear on your body, very much so if you misuse it. Yang can also multiply it just like the Kaioken. So it would be Gia Fist times 2, Gia Fist times 3, times 5. And just like in the original, Gia told her not to go over a times 2 because it can severely wreck your body. And for lack of a better word, if you are not careful, it can kill you. Now, of course, she told Yang that she could bypass this handicap by further training with it. But of course, Yang did not wait. She flew here the moment she finished her training. So, of course, Adam does not know what this is. He doesn't know if it's a semblance or what it is, but he still regains his composure and sheathes the sword and readies his attack. So, Yang, in this rage and this glowing red burst of power, dashes towards Adam. And Adam, of course, slashes her. But unlike the original version, he is not able to pierce her skin fully. His sword literally shatters from the force that Yang is putting into this attack. It does still injure her, though. It still pierces her skin, but it does not fully cut her arm off. So what Yang does is that the slash kind of moves her over. So instead of going fully through Adam, she only goes to the side of him, but that's still enough for her to land a punch right to his face. And it literally sends him through the building, through a couple of other buildings. His aura shatters, and White Fang members are actually able to pick him up and carry him off because he literally just got wrecked with one punch. Yang still falls to the ground because she's used a lot of energy. She just used a technique that she still fully hasn't mastered yet, and now she's got a gaping wound on her arm that is bleeding profusely. Blake, since now, has recovered from her stab, even though she's bleeding profusely as well, and she rushes over and she's like, "You idiot, why did you do that? I didn't ask for help." Just completely berating Yang. And Yang just smirks and says, "Hey, I can't leave a cute girl in peril," which Blake just rolls her eyes, puts her arm around her shoulder, and starts leading her away because they're both injured. Blake is low on aura, Yang is low on energy. They need to get to a safe place. Now, of course, Yang is the first, "No, I've got to find my sister. I've got to check up on her." But Blake's like, "You are in no condition. I don't know what you are. I don't know what that was, but even I can tell you're spent." So they get to the dock area where they originally did in RWBY. And Yang sees Weiss and she's like, "Where's my sister?" And she's like, "I don't know. She heard that Pyrrha, a friend of theirs, was in danger. She just rushed off." And she points to where she went, which is, of course, at the top of the tower. And all Yang sees is that big Grim, pretty much a dragon, the Wyvern. And Yang is freaked out. She tries her best to fly, but she's spent. For the first time ever, Yang has spent all of her energy. And she's panicking. She's like, this is the one time where I could really be there for my sister, and I did something stupid and spent all my energy. Now I can't do anything. Yang is so mad at herself, she punches the ground, and of course it shatters. Because even though she's out of energy, she still has her brute strength left. But all of a sudden, this bright, blinding light comes from the tower, and next thing everyone knows, the wyvern is stone, and most of pretty much all the Grimm that was around have been turned to stone. The white thing retreats. The Atlas mechs have finally been taken care of, and of course, Crow is the one that finds Ruby and brings her down. So in the aftermath, pretty much a lot of the same things that happened in the original show still happen. Beacon is pretty much closed down. Ozpin is missing. Glinda stays and tries to keep away the Grimm, but also rebuild at the same time. Weiss is taken back to Atlas. Ruby and Yang are taken back to Patch, but in this version, Blake does not run away because, once again, this is a different Blake. This one's tougher. She is actively wanting to fight Adam to take back the White Fang and make things better for the Faunus. Blake is very curious about Yang and what Yang is. And at first, Blake kind of wants to take advantage of that and be like, I want to find out how she's so strong. If she is a Faunus, maybe it's something other Faunus can do. So, a little, I guess we can say, a little, Blake taking advantage of Yang at first here, but they hardly know each other. Yang may have a attraction to her, but they do not know each other yet. So, of course, Blake, being who she is in this version, is going to take advantage of a strong ally, so she follows them back to Patch. She doesn't let them know she's there, though, because, of course, if Crow or Ty saw her just skulking outside, they're going to be like, who are you? What do you want? So she keeps to the shadows, as Blake does. So Ruby is out cold. Yang is also out cold because she's completely spent all of her energy. Yang does wake up first, and the first thing she sees is her arm completely wrapped up. Now, of course, being a Saiyan, she has a very short recovery rate. Now, but of course, she still has to rest. So her arm hurts like no other. And there may or may not be some long-term nerve damage there, meaning that from now on, if she uses her arm too much, it's always going to hurt. It's kind of like, okay, real life example. Jess used to be a cheerleader, and she had so many injuries that I believe it's one of her wrists or both of her wrists at this point, where she does have permanent nerve damage. Her wrists constantly bother her, especially when it gets cold. So, even though this version of Yang did not lose her arm, she does have a long-term injury in a way. One that is so bad. Let's just say that Adam hit just the right spot to where even a Saiyan did not come completely unscathed in the attack. Even though she shattered, the contact alone shattered his sword, it still hit its mark. But instead of getting sad over it, Yang's like, I'll work through it. Eventually it'll hopefully get better. But of course, besides that, she's also wondering where her sister is. So of course, she quickly gets up because she's a Saiyan. She's very resilient and runs to Ruby's room, and there's Ruby sleeping soundly. Ty shows up. He's like, I didn't say you could get out of bed yet. And she's like, I'm fine. How's Ruby? He's like, well, she's been sleeping for about as long as you have, but from what we can tell, she's fine. She's just exhausted. So, of course, Yang sits by Ruby's bed. She wants to stay there as long as she can because that's her baby sister. She wants to make sure she's all right. And her stomach growls. So, of course, Ty being Ty, he brings her some food. about 50 plates worth of for her to eat because it's been a while since she's had anything to eat. And of course, Gia shows up and she lets Yang have it. She is like, I cannot believe you ran off again. You never listen to me when it comes to that. Young lady, I don't know what to do with you. You're going to be the death of me. You know what? You haven't graduated nothing. You still have a lot to learn. Until you get better, I'm going to teach you how to be smarter. And Ty agrees, and he says, can I help out? Because, I'm a fighter as well, and I am her father. And she's like, fine, you can help out. All this time, Blake is watching from the shadows and is just going to wait for that right time to where she can get Yang alone so they can talk. Of course, she's not the only one watching. Raven has also found her way to Patch, and after what she saw displayed at Beacon, because yes, she was watching at Beacon as well, because let's face it, Raven is very sneaky like that, she has decided that Yang is ready to train under her. And what no one knows is that Raven has taken dust and used it to her advantage to come up with new, effective training techniques that would benefit a Saiyan. But we'll have to get to that next episode. So that was the fall of Beacon. Didn't go into as much detail with a lot of other things that happened during the fall, but this was more or less on Yang's side of the story. Hopefully no one's upset that Yang didn't lose her arm in this version, because remember, this is an alternate timeline. I'm not following the exact story of RWBY. Will Salem still be the main villain? More than likely, yes, but I am going to change her around, change her backstory around a little bit, but we won't get to that until we get to more close the time of Volume 6. But, so yes, Yang does know a version of the Kaioken. Like I said, you can call it either the Gia Fist or the Gia-kin, whatever you want to call it. Gia-kin kind of sounds dumb, so maybe the Gia Fist. But as we can see, she still needs to train more with it. Right now, she can only use it in short bursts and really only use it once before it completely just zaps her dry. But the next episode will be about what happens after the fall of Beacon. What happens when the Mistral arc decides to come into play? What is Yang's role? Will she follow RWBY, or will she seek out Raven like she did in the show? We'll have to wait till next time. So, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave me a comment. As always, guys, this is Cannan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.